George Floyd's arrest was a monumental failure. How you guys doing? My name is James City Jr. I'm from Minneapolis, Minnesota. So as a nation, we find ourselves in a very tumultuous season. We've just suffered with this whole COVID-19 pandemic that's been going on. Basically brought the global economy to a halt. And now, if things can get any worse, we have the George Floyd situation. I have a deep felt hope for my home town and birth city of Minneapolis, Minnesota, to see improvement. So here are the facts of the George Floyd situation. May 25th, about 1 mile from where I was born in Minneapolis, Minnesota, George Floyd was killed by a white police officer named Derek Chauvin. Police were called because George Floyd allegedly used a fake $20 bill to pay for his order at a local deli, to which the cashier found out it was fake and called the police. The criminal complaint stated that Floyd did not voluntarily get into the police car and struggle with the officers, intentionally falling down, saying he was not going in the car and refusing to stand still. Derek Chauvin had his knee on the neck of George Floyd for about 8 minutes and 40 seconds, with 2 of those minutes after George Floyd was unresponsive. Officer Chauvin was not the only police officer present. We had his brother-in-law, who was the Asian officer, Tu Tao. He was the one that was front-facing the video. You had Alexander Kang, and he was holding down Floyd's back, and then Thomas Lane, who also held down his legs. These 2 individuals were behind the police car, so they were not noticed in the first viral video. These videos were recorded by witnesses on their cell phones, capturing the final moments of George Floyd's life, to which the viewers can hear George begging for his life, saying, "Please, the knee in my neck, I can't breathe, my stomach hurts, my neck hurts, and don't kill me." And that saw widespread circulation. So what was the reaction to this video? First and foremost, it was absolutely disgusting. Like, just seeing the lack of humanity in the eyes of police officer Derek Chauvin. Not once did he flinch and showed like a concern for the life of the man that was beneath him. Not once did he show an understanding of like his pain and that he may be suffering. Nothing. You didn't see anything in his facial expression, and it was unbelievably just cruel and unusual. And as for me, I hope that he sees criminal prosecution. I hope he gets charged for murder for what went down. Of course, from what I've last seen, he's being charged with third-degree murder. In regards to the outcry, we've seen international outcry already. We've had nationwide protests, not just nationwide, but also international, spread into Canada, Brazil, the UK, Germany, and a lot of nations in Africa as well have seen the footage, and they're all protesting as well. So this is something that's become a global situation, not just local. A lot of issues that are going on now is through the media, the failure to draw a distinction between 2 very polarized camps in this movement. And you have those who are the actual protesters, those who are exercising their First Amendment right to peacefully protest what's going on. And then you have another camp. You have those who are the looters, those who are using this as just mere opportunists, and they're trying to push their narrative, they're trying to push their agendas on the back of a George Floyd killing. And to those, I said that's absolutely disgusting. That needs to stop immediately. Whether it's Antifa or whether it's one of these supremacist groups, you guys need to stop that immediately. That shows that you're just using of death to carry out your misguided agendas, and this is just a means for you. So when you're going out there and you're destroying property, you're going out there, you're lighting cars on fire, you're assaulting individuals, you're just stealing, or you're just merely stealing material possessions. I don't want the media to lump this in with the group of people that are actually peacefully protesting. We need to call it what it is. Okay, those are just opportunists. So those who are over here claiming Antifa and saying you want your new world order, I've seen a lot of videos where people are saying that. Look, I'm gonna say right now, I'm not interested in your socialism. I'm not interested in your use of aimless vandalism. I'm not interested in your anarchist ideology. You guys can keep that to your personal Facebook and keep yourself separate from this movement. And I just had to state this just because of lazy and sloppy journalism. failing to just kind of draw the distinction with these two camps. Is African American life less valuable in today's world? And God said, let us make man in our image after our likeness, Genesis 1:26. But to that, my answer is no. The African American life is not less valuable. God did not create any race to be superior, and God did not create any race to be inferior to any of the other races that exist on this planet. We're all created with infinite worth, intrinsically given to us by our Creator, Jesus Christ. So to those of you, this is kind of where I want to just kind of speak out to those who are not African American. If you grew up in an environment where racism was taught to you indirectly or directly, or you're just unaware of whether maybe I have racist tendencies, this is where I say I urge you guys to right now have very intentional, heartfelt conversation with your friends and loved ones, because this is not just a mere assault on people that live and coexist with you on this planet, but this is a direct assault on the image and the likeness and the beauty of God, our Creator. We're all created in His image. So if you have a gripe with African Americans or Latino Americans or Asian Americans or whoever it may be, you don't just hate them for their race, for their skin color. You also hate God. And I need you to have those conversations with your loved ones. To those minorities who say I don't see, or to those individuals who say I don't see color, I want to put an end to that right now. To say you don't see color is a failure to accept a person in their entirety. You need to change that way of thinking in spite of your racial and ethnic differences, I accept you, I see you, and I love you for who you are. I love you in spite of our differences. That's what you need to say, okay? So I need to see your blackness, I need to see your brownness, and I still love you, okay? We can't say I don't see color. That has to stop right now. Also, to my white counterparts, it's not enough to say I'm not racist. You also have to say I'm anti-racist, because that is an assertive position, okay? You have to see injustices and you have to hate it. You have to meet it head on and you have to kill it immediately. So when you're saying you're checking your whiteness, I don't want to hear the checking my whiteness at the door. I want you to utilize the platform that you have, utilize the position that you have to communicate with your demographic. Because this is a conversation blacks have been having in this country for a long time and has fallen on deaf ears for so long. Sometimes it just takes a different voice. Sometimes it does take a white individual to speak to their white community for them to finally listen, all right? Obviously the world's not perfect, but we have to utilize what we have. So use your platforms to bring about change. And of course, just for everyone, this has to be on an individual level, a heart change that happens. Because there's no top-down legislation that can force us into loving each other, to force us into a kind of racial unity that we all aspire to achieve. That has to start from the grassroots level. That has to start from the bottom and work its way up. We have to, as individuals, look ourselves in the mirror and say, not necessarily say that, how can I respond to every evil under the sun, but more so, how have I dealt with the evil in my own heart? How have I dealt with the evil in my own home and in my own community? It has to start on that level, because that's what God has given you. All right, so what do we need? Number one, we need to amend the Qualified Immunities Act. So if you're not familiar with the Qualified Immunities Act, basically it states that government officials should be liable to anyone that they injure for the deprivation of any clearly established right. What we need to see is criminal indictments for officers who abuse their powers and for officers who show consistency with community complaints. This is the era of video footage, and the laws must adjust to the times. I mean, there's no reason you can have full video and a police officer can still get away scot-free. Police officers who have cases of excessive use of force must undergo routine psychological assessment and necessary rehabilitative services in order to determine they can return to their normal job functions. And this is something I also want to see happen here. To quote Machiavelli, I mean, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And I'm not saying police officers have absolute power, they do not, but they do have an increased amount of power, more so than your average civilian, in order to complete their tasks of their job. So we know the nature of power over time can still erode your moral compass and judgments. So what I would also request is psychological assessments. Last but not least, increase of diversity hires in police departments. Now this is very hard for our local police precincts because there's just not a lot of minorities applying to be police officers. Also, a lot of communities just don't have minorities to apply in general. So what we need to do is subsidize these hires. We need more federal aid because we need a police force that looks like the community is serving. We need more, we need backgrounds, we need different experiences, we need different genders, we need different ideologies, we need it all because we need a police force that not only serves this community, but is also empathetic. It also has understanding of the needs of the community as well. So we need federal funding to see more diversity hires. Well, I mean, I waited for my anger to subside to share my thoughts. We have a long way to go as a nation, of course, in order to achieve racial harmony. But at the end of the day, the only person who's big enough to heal nations, the only person who's big enough to reconcile racial divide is Jesus Christ at the end of the day. So I'm just praying for those and the family members involved with Floyd's death. I pray for this healing and comfort. Other than that, these are my thoughts.